Greetings to you all. I like to think of Insight Myanmar podcast as a community platform. This community includes everyone behind the production, as well as the incredible guests that we welcome on, and it also encompasses the tens of thousands of listeners like yourself tuning in from all parts of the world. In essence, this production is a conversation that really we're all part of. So whether we're the ones who happen to be talking, listening, asking questions, or just reflecting, we hope that this community feel can foster deeper understanding, shared learning, and meaningful connections, all centered around the stories and experiences of our guests. And that begins with the conversation coming up now. So thank you for joining us for what's ahead.
And welcome back to the fourth of the interviews that we are doing in partnership with Knowledge for Democracy Myanmar, K4DM. And today we are breaking our format a little bit to do 4 rapid-fire interviews back to back with representatives from DigiSec Lab. So we'll be talking about various aspects of digital security in the post-coup and conflict Myanmar. So first of all, before we jump into that, my first guest is Nandar, and I want to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself and also to thank you for spending your time with us.
Hi, I'm Nandar, and I'm a senior digital security expert in DigiSec Lab team. I conduct digital security training and also support digital security emergency rapid response to the community. So nice to meet you all.
Okay, thank you very much. So I understand that what you want to discuss with us is, first of all, the 3 main digital weapons of governance, as you've called them. Can you tell us briefly what these 3 weapons of governance are?
Yes, actually, before studying the 3 main digital weapons of governance, let me introduce first about the digital siege that is happening in Myanmar. Actually, how do you imagine you can connect the internet and the internet is still work, but you are no longer connected to your internet or to the world freely? It's a great question, and many of millions of people in Myanmar are now living in that stage. It is not happening overnight. The internet shutdown and censorship is not happening in a one flick. Like if you turn on a switch, the lights would run out, right? But the internet shutdown is not happening in Myanmar like this stage. It has become slowly and it has become tightening, one application, one regulation, one surveillance to implementing a step by step. That is, we call it digital siege situation in Myanmar. Yeah.
Absolutely, and it is an interesting way to understand the situation of the internet, because the word siege makes it sound very much like we're attacking a castle that has walls. There's a clear line, and we think of the internet as something that cannot be stopped, it cannot be controlled, it cannot be limited because it's an international forum. But that's not true, is it? The government actually has a lot of control over the internet traffic that comes into a country and goes out of a country. Isn't that the case?
Yeah, and also Myanmar's story is a little different with other country. As you know, the Great Firewall that is developed by China, and the main function is to cut the internet from a country. But Myanmar's story is a little different. The war is not happening as a sudden. It is becoming a layer by layer siege. The outer layer filter what you can access. The middle layer will watch what you do, and also the inner layer make you feel afraid to even try anything. So that is the situation, and also the logic of digital siege is not to switch off the internet entirely, but to make people self-silence under the constant observation. And also, the researcher from the DigiSec Lab published the internet coup. They want that the military counter was importing not just civilian equipment, but also the governance psychology, one borrowed from the Great Firewall model. Yeah.
Hmm. I mean, it's a terrifying thought. So with that understanding, let's focus then on these weapons of governance. What can you tell us about these weapons?
Yes, actually, there are many weapons, but from the digital point of view and the prioritizing view, the three main weapon is the first one is about DPI. We call it DPI, deep packet inception, and also VPN circumvention blocking, and also the cybersecurity law. So let's take one by one. The first one is DPI, deep packet inception. That is about like a microscope of internet traffic. It can monitor and watch every mail, every message, or every search that you make. When you make a search or when you send an email, the package are travel like a data, and DPI allow state control and telecom to open this package and look inside and decide what passage or what get blocked here.
And so that's
And
DPI. But what
yeah,
about the other two?
yes, the second tool is about the met surveillance traffic logging tool. So the second weapon is more hidden under the first layer, met surveillance through important secure gateway. The gateway sits quietly at the core of the network and they log every user when they connect to the internet, which application they are using, how long each section will take on each application, and when they use the website. And it combined with the SIM card registration and IME and tracking method, so the regime can build a behavior map of the RE citizen and can monitor on it. Technically, it really looks like a national CCTV system for
Mhm.
the internet traffic. So every digital movement leave a trace, right? So every message, every content that you make, that you send, even if it is encrypted, the metadata tell the story. You are talking to whom? You are talking to that person on what time? And you are talking from what? All this information, including the metadata, by this surveillance tool, this second word point, the data can retrieve and can monitor it on it here. So as a ordinary user, yes, yeah, it's very feel and safe to use the internet in their ordinary day. Yeah.
Hmm, absolutely. And so you've painted a very grim image of effectively a surveillance state that the junta has established within cyberspace. And I know that our next guest is going to take us through some of the mitigation factors that people can use to protect themselves from this type of surveillance. But ultimately, my question for you, Nanda, is what is the impact that this has on whether it's civilians or even on people working within civil society organizations that the military may not like?
The impact is really big. If we check the impact, we will define the group based on their operation, their daily life usage of the internet. We will define three main group: media workers, civil society, and youth. Additionally, our public is also a main group. But I will focus on discussion three group after we discussion about the third weapon of
Mhm.
the law,
Mm,
the cybersecurity law. Yeah,
yeah. So, and this is a very recent cybersecurity law. I know
yeah.
that we've seen this through a lot of Asia actually. We've seen, I know in Hong Kong, for example, China passed a cybersecurity law that impacted Hong Kong independence. That I think because cybersecurity laws are so complex, a lot of people don't really understand what they do or how they work. But what can you tell us about this particular cybersecurity law from this year, 2025?
Yes, clearly, as I said, the third weapon is doesn't come from the technology; it's come from a pen. Yes, so they enacted the cybersecurity law, and they retain full authority to demand user data, to shut down the platform, and to criminalize online expression. So under this law, the service provider must store user information inside the country and needed to hand it over upon request. And also, social media can be blocked if there is a mass campaign is happening in specific time. And also, posting or sharing content deemed to destabilize the state or damage national unity can result in prison sentence. So the third weapon is the law is I name it is repression into policies becoming in 2025. It's really becoming a great impact to the three categories that I mentioned: media organization, and also civil society organization, and youth. That is the third topic that we want to talk in this podcast here.
And so, as a follow-up question,
Yeah.
obviously within the context of Myanmar, we
Mhm.
know that the communication law, Section 66D, was used very widely, even back in the NLD government, to suppress information. We know that Section 505A and B are being used to punish people for pretty much anything that the military wants. So the question is, with the cybersecurity law, how much power does the cybersecurity law really add to the military in addition to the legislation that already existed within Myanmar?
Yes, the new launch 2025 cybersecurity law is more focusing to the user data and service digital service provider that are currently operating in Myanmar. In the previous, they are more targeting for the user, but in the 2025 new law, they are more targeting for the service provider. Because as you know, the service provider uh, have all the user data, all the traffic record, all the information. Like if I'm using the like food delivery or taxi service that are operating in Myanmar, all my personal information goes there, right? So they're more targeting to the service provider level and focusing on the user data level. Yeah.
Hmm. And this, I mean, this all just reminds me very much of the Telenor situation when obviously Telenor was forced to sell to the military when they left the country, and they handed over the user data. And of course, I think this is an important point to remind people that anything that you do on a phone through the phone network is not protected and is not encrypted. It's very vulnerable. Are there any telecommunications companies in Myanmar today that are genuinely independent of the military, that are maybe foreign owned, completely private, or are all of them in some way, shape, or form partially controlled by the military or partially owned by the military?
Uh, to answer with a one short answer, all are under control. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. This is what I was afraid would be the truth. But so now turning to the sort of that final point, what is the realistic impact that this is having on people? Obviously, if I order food by Grab, well, the military probably doesn't care about that, but they do care about many other things. So what is the impact this is having on, as you say, the civilians, the media, and the civil society organizations?
Yes, we just unpack the tool about the DPI tool, about the gateway, about the laws, but there is a person behind every pieces of policy, right? So people who just depend on the free internet access, and also people who use online spaces to organize, to learn, to develop their career. That person all are facing that situation. Firstly, focus on the media worker, journalism, and the digital gun, who are the frontline defender and frontline documenter of the truth. Under the 2025 coup, over 150 journalists are detained, and they are also fled across border to the Thailand or other border area. But exile doesn't mean safety anymore. They are facing many situations. Let's imagine in their yes, their website. They have their website as a media house, right? But their website is banned in Myanmar. So how they can share information to the Myanmar people, right? So yeah, the media workers are first impact person to get the truth from the ground area, to get the real-time information from the conflict area, and also they are facing uh, the harder to report about costs. Even though some of the journalists are exiled on the border area, the citizen journalists and also the journalists are still in country, still in Myanmar. So for the reporting process, they are struggling day by day. They need to report a video, right? So the internet is too slow and they cannot upload on it. The communication tools, monitors, and surveillance. So yeah, they are the first impacted group cause of the freedom of internet access and also monitoring the TPI package. But I'm yeah. I think the independent media are still finding ways to respond this situation. They are still resilient to report the truth. Yeah.
Hmm. Thank you very much. And with that, I think we'll segue to our next guest, Korvox, who will be taking us through some of the risks and some of the mitigation strategies.
So I'm Fox. So I'm kind of like a researcher, and I'm also a trainer in terms of digital safety. And yeah, so I'm currently working with MIP and SRS right now. So yeah, so it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And so, following on from what Mananda was discussing, let's talk about the attacks that the military launched against things like VPNs following the coup in 2021.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so when it comes to like restriction, I think like as my colleague Nanda mentioned, it's kind of like it's a very new addition, right? But then what we have in terms of information control, in terms of like internet restriction, what we have is we have a full very full menu, so to speak. And it actually start with like to actually kind of like paint the picture. It actually start with the night of the February 1st, right? It was when we actually witnessed the whole internet blackout situation. Everything was bad, like everything, like there are people like lining up in front of ATMs, people going elsewhere, like people don't have any, they didn't have, they have, we had no idea how to deal with it. It was kind of very unreal, right? In terms of like being unreal, I recall that the whole episode of this February 2021 was pretty unreal for me. It yeah, I mean during 2021 February they did a lot of things. Like for example, we had all these like whole internet shutdown, like total blackouts, and then we had stuff like internet curfew. Now that's actually a new thing. No country on earth have that, but we had it. And then came the unilateral amendment of the law. They suspended all the law. They changed all the law all over in the course of the month. And it was, if I recall correctly, I got pretty depressed when they actually suspended clauses of the law protecting the privacy and security of the citizen, thereby enabling themselves to actually enter property, seize properties without a warrant or any civilian or legal oversight. So yeah, so that was the first of it. And then and then we also had all these non-violence protests, and then people are also getting arrested left and right. And then I developed this habit of monitoring the scout channels. And then yeah, when they actually opened fire, we had no choice but to actually look at the reports from Telegram channels. And then, if you look at it, if you scroll the news feed, you can see the protests, you can see the shooting. And then there are also there is the wider internet, right? It was supposed to be free, but then were using VPN, we were using there was shooting going by outside, so it felt very disconnected from what the international community realized as the reality. It was like a bad dream, to be honest.
I absolutely imagine that it would have been. I was outside the country at the time, so obviously I didn't feel the effects in the same way. But the feeling of talking to someone and then suddenly the internet curfew hits and they're gone, and you don't know what's happening to them for the next 8 hours or something. It was a pretty terrible feeling, and it was a very strange time, especially as you say, because of the police raids that they would often do during these blackouts, so people could not warn their friends and people could not do anything. But on this, what can you tell us about the Brussels effect with relation to this?
Oh well, yeah. We were talking about Brazil effect. Brazil effect is something that internet has no boundary, right? The On the internet there are no boundary. But then what we're actually seeing right now in 2025, right now, I'm not sure. I'm not even sure anymore. There are Brazil. We had, for example, we had Telenor, a European country that is supposedly going to have to abide with the GDPR, and they actually sold us out. So I'm not sure about. As an activist, I'm no longer really sure about the applicability of this Brussels effect anymore. We are in a totalitarian internet stage inside the country.
Yeah, it absolutely does appear to be uh, that way. So let's look at exactly what was happening and what was being done, because you talk about Telegram channels, and I know that a lot of people moved onto Telegram channels for security. But I also know that a lot of the soldiers in the Tamado also went onto Telegram channels and were posting awful things. I know that a lot of the NUG moved onto Signal, being a significantly more sort of encryption and security based platform. Everyone was trying to use VPNs to get around everything, but it seems that that's not sufficient. There are still ways around this. There are still ways to find people, locate people through their SIM cards, through their bank transactions, their credit cards, just their phone, the inherent sort of serial number of the phone, the IMEI. What can you tell us about how the interconnectedness of technology basically undermined all of these, or many of these security tools and many of these protections that people would turn to?
Yeah, I think this is a very good question. So yeah, so the thing is that when we usually talk about the tools, we used to assume that use of signal equal to security, right? But in reality, that's rather not the case. In reality, tools are just tools. What you have to actually do is you have to actually plan ahead. You have to have protocols to actually work securely in this surveillance stage. For example, what happened was that Signal was a very real. It was very best in terms of encryption protocols and everything. But what happened was that it was not very private enough, at least for Myanmar. Means to say that you mean before prior to the later updates, in 2021-22, people didn't have the chance to actually hide their phone numbers. So what happened was that whenever someone in your signal group got arrested, what happened is that they got kicked out of the group, etc., etc. But actually, they can still actually even after kicking out, you can actually still check whoever was in the group, their respective phone numbers and yeah, everything, right? So, and then in the context of Myanmar, I mean, Signal. I'm not that much in Signal. Signal is very good, but it's just not in the Myanmar context because what we had was that we had all these SIM registrations. Means to say that if you register your Signal account with your own registered number, you're going to be identified, and by being inside Yangon, by being an underground personnel, like avoiding authority, well, once your identity got leaked, then that it means that they can just come and arrest you, and that was pretty much the case with what happened with the signal. So what happened is that we kind of shifted our strategy to Telegram, but then Telegram has very good extensive group control, but then it's not really a security application, and it's pretty much abused by bad actors as well. So yeah, so I'm not going to be very confident about Signal from a digital security perspective. But then it worked in our context. But then what happened was that back then, what you really had to do was that you had to treat every cold caller, right? Everyone contacting you as a potential adversary because of all these. You can never know if the person you are talking has been compromised or not because they're the adversary, right? The hunter, they have their own strategy. They're not looking to just arrest a person or just one. They're not going to be satisfied with it. What they want to do is they want to find out your network, they want to find out your activity, they want to know everything. So yeah, so we got all these like previous exposure and personal getting arrested, and it was very bad. Like when someone in your network got arrested, you got a lot of things to figure out, like whatever, everything you talk with that person, everything that you walk with that person, you have to consider them exposed. So yeah, so what happened is that you have to change everything, your pattern, your walk, your name, your ID, everything. So it's a very time consuming and stressful work as well. So what happened was that we used to kind of like adopt all these protocols, right? Protocols like check, like code works and etc. etc. But then I'd say that they're pretty tiresome. Like for example, like you would get a sleepless night if your coworker didn't respond to a code work or something like that. But in reality, they're just drinking and they're just so yeah. So it was all the drama, all these sleepless night and everything. It was just kind of bizarre, yeah, actually.
Hmm. I can imagine. And I remember earlier on when I set up my Signal, I was able to set up a fake phone number. Signal had this feature, so to this day, I have a Cambodian phone number on my Signal. I've never had a Cambodian SIM card, except once. Um, but this feature seems to be gone. So Signal had security features which no longer exist, and then, as you're saying, they've evolved over time and they've tried to bring some things back, but none of these services actually provide the absolute security that people think that they do. And the strategies you're talking about are really disturbing because these are strategies that you hear from people who have had to work in the CIA or the NSA, who have had to work in serious espionage contexts. And the fact that civilians have to do this to protect themselves from their governments is deeply disturbing. So what I want to conclude with you is to ask, what is the overview? how critical is the situation? How dangerous is the situation now in 2025 when these apps like Signal and Telegram and all these others have had the opportunity to try to implement some sort of improved securities? And how advanced is the military's ability in fighting that?
Oh, yeah. I'm afraid I don't have any. I don't have any good news, so to speak, because as my colleague Nanda mentioned, we are pretty bad right now. We're in a pretty bad situation. It's 2025. None of the youth can actually live comfortably inside the country because of the conscription. Every youth is threatened right now. They can consider themselves threatened. And then we also have a government that actually sold all of all of the national cyberspace for just to block VPN. They just sold it out, and then we have this, and then we have like I used to actually keep a very good track of the legal changes that they did, but I can no longer do that. That is why we actually keep a documentation of it. So what is happening is that they have all these laws, and all of these laws are pretty scary. Like for example, if you take the law protecting the general election, it carries a very serious sentences, and then there are also a lot of people who are being tried on that on that ground as well. So yeah, so they carry capital punishment. Some of the laws have deeper impact. For example, the cybersecurity law that Nanda discussed, and then we also have all these frameworks, right? For example, like frameworks like the like what is it called? It's called the interception framework that was enacted in 2023, I guess, and it was actually kind of like it was deliberately just designed to have nothing of oversight. They can just monitor by just submitting an application, and they can extend it over anytime, anywhere, and yeah. So I mean, on legal ground, they have it covered. On technical ground, they have it covered. And then we have this general election that is going to pose a threat to all of us. So yeah, I mean, looking at that, I would say that we're looking at a situation where Orwell mentioned about the I mean, this is 1984, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah.
this is going to be every space physical, every space digital, they're going to be monitored, and there are going to be very big repressions on these platforms as well. So yeah, so what we're looking at, this is a total authoritarian internet plus in the making, and this is going to be very soon. So yeah, I'm afraid that's kind of like my take on it.
I mean, it's pretty dire, but unfortunately, that's the truth. And I think it's important that people know how bad the situation is and understand how difficult it is for real information and truth to spread in this context and in this environment. And that, I think, is a very good segue to our third guest, Nyat.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Miet, and I am a freelance media consultant and also freelance journalist. I've been working in this information industry and media industry for 10 years, over 10 years. Yeah, I'm also close working with the DigiSec Lab team for supporting digital security training for the Myanmar ethnic media groups.
Excellent. So let's just jump right in. The media landscape in Myanmar obviously has always been very heavily influenced by the military. There are entire media publications that work seemingly exclusively for the military. But the situation has obviously gotten worse since the coup. So can you give us an overview of the state of media right now in Myanmar?
Sure. So I will start with the before the coup situation. So before the coup, Myanmar media was growing, under the civilian elected government. And so as for example, like the EORI, DPP, and Myanmar, the independent media outlets and organizations were working more freely, and they could report like about politics news, society, and like other ethnic issue, or they have more freedom or expression. Even though they have with challenges like this, they have some space to report freely. So after the coup in 2021, everything changed. The military canceled media license, arrested journalists, and blocked many websites. And newsroom also had to move, and so they went to underground, and they have to report from like exiles in border area or other outside country. So in this new situation, the media also became, online because they have to keep reporting through like social media and digital platforms. Uh, for many people inside the country, also, Facebook, like like a Facebook, became the main window to consume the independent news. And so focusing on in 2024 and 2025, like there's another more challenges, which mean like the not only like about the military suppression, but also about the survival, because most of the media outlets rely on the and support funding, supporting by the and NGO or something like that. So in 2024 and 25, there's a major funding cuts like USAID or CDA, those kind of impact like affect like financial crisis for the independent media. So especially for the ethnic media and small scale media, some of the media they face seriously risks like disappearing. They cannot no more reporting, cannot do no more reporting, and which will mean like less access to information for the communities.
Hmm. And so this is an interesting sort of split here, because of course the same thing that happened after and around the 1988 uprising, a lot of media organizations, a lot of journalists fled the country and they established themselves in Thailand, where they have at least some level of media freedom, but they still have to get their information from inside Myanmar somehow. So the question I just sort of quickly want to throw in here is media moving out of Myanmar and into neighboring countries? Is that actually a solution to the threats that the media organizations face from the military, or do they still have to deal with a lot of these problems?
Yes. They have deal with another problem, except apart from the military suppression, and like as I mentioned before, the more the main challenge is that and the survival to for the long term, so therefore like the situation that they face now, funding cuts are really challenging for them, and for the reporting and for the covering the news, and to share the information for the community. And another is like the and like the capacity, the most of the journalists are don't have they have many limitations, like for example as salaries, and because of the financial crisis, they don't have much the salaries, and also they don't have like the limited access to get the information inside the country. So yeah, the capacity of the working journalists are faces like to get less access all the information inside the country. Yeah, these are the main challenges all after the apart from the military suppression.
And what do we know about the military specifically targeting journalists? I mean, obviously we know that the military hates free journalism and free press. We've seen that. We've seen evidence of that very clearly. But what are the ways that they're using technological solutions to identify, to monitor, to track, and ultimately to dox journalists and media houses?
Yeah, sure. So military also targeted the journalists, and not only from offline, but also they targeted on the digital as well. So when we talk about digital threats and Myanmar media journalists, so it's mean like all the online activity that connects journalists, like how the journalists communicate, report, how they report, and how they store information, and how they protect their device or data, something like that. So for the communication, the journalists, especially working inside, and they stay connected is becoming harder and more dangerous, and most of the journalists have to rely on messaging apps to communicate with editors or sources or colleagues, etc. So but many application messaging application are blocked, and so they have to use like VPN or something like that. But VPN also is like a risky, because if military find out that some people use the VPN, they can be questioned or even arrest. So for this is the trust and risk for the communication, also reporting as well, and there are only 1,000 journalists are still working inside, but compared with the population in Myanmar is really really small amount of the journalists that can work inside. So but they have to report, from the complete area, but the asset of the, information is very challenging. So and also they have to, so those journalists who work in, who reporting inside, they have to send the information and footages or evidence are to the the editor in the exile or something like that. So at the time they have to use online tools and digital devices to send to share the those information. So at the same time, the devices they use for the reporting is also is like important to for the safety. If they have to find, like have been found out by the military and they saw the like footages of fines or in the devices, and they can be arrested. And so that's why the device for the journalists they have to save use safe devices and safe and technique and protocol for when you using the device. And so another thing is like the documentation. So like now the most of the was have moved to online, and so the like interview photo have to store in digitally. So this documentation also very important. But many the challenges, like many journalists and media outlets cannot afford like pay digital security to or cloud storage. So this is really challenging for them to save and store the footages in safe way. Yeah.
I mean, so this raises a very important question. So if you are using, for example, a memory stick or USB stick or a flash drive or something like this, you can relatively easily you can encrypt what is contained on it. That's not a difficult thing to do. Now, in countries like the United States, your encryption is protected by law. The government cannot demand that you unencrypt something that you have encrypted. That would be, I believe, that would be covered by the Fourth and Fifth Amendments. Here in Australia, on the other hand, it is illegal to not provide the passwords to anything that you've encrypted if the government requests it. What is the situation in Myanmar if journalists are trying to cross an airport or a checkpoint and they have a flash drive or a USB stick with encrypted information, and the police or the military or whoever finds this? What is the situation that journalist is now in?
Yeah, but in the situation in Myanmar, especially with the Myanmar military, I think we have no choice when they ask to to show the password or the encrypted code, because that they are violence. They were and they were they were sent the journalist to the integration center. They were asked and they were forced and to answer this password or code. So yeah, there is we have even though like they have these are the illegal, they don't think about this illegal or legal, or they were just what they want, they were asked and they were forced and they were beating on some bad the journalists, to get this information from them. Yeah.
Okay, that is a very concerning situation, very predictable, I suppose, but a very concerning situation nonetheless. So then, what are the takeaways here? Because we need to have training for journalists. We need them to understand these situations and how they can avoid these difficulties. Do journalists have a process? Is there a protocol? Have they developed a methodology that allows them to pass checkpoints and pass airports with minimal risk? I could imagine them, hiding flash drives in their shoes and things that we saw back in the Cold War. What are journalists doing to adapt?
Yeah, that's why we are, and continuously supporting the digital security training and for the journalists and media, outlets. And also we always, consult with them. What is the situation right now? What are the risks inside the country? And what are the risks in digitally or something like that? So if they have any problem or face with any risks, and we support them to and consult and help how to face this kind of situation or problems. And so normally we support them to everything to be seen in the online. So use encryption and use like safe messaging app, and also password need to be how can I say with the key using with the keypads or something like that, and also change password regularly, and also don't share your important information with others, and also have a how can I say that create a protocol, or and the how can I say guideline for the journalists, and even though for the editor as well, because they are main people who have to contact with and share the information is other. That basically we support, and also journalists are and media outlets also follow the in protocol, and they join the training. But at least like on the situation like the emergency situation like the random checkpoint or something like that, at the time like there is no how can I say no choice to prepare, but we always like say that like calm and and please do something like if you, for example, like one of my journalist friend, he when he go to the to the another area, and you have to cross the checkpoint in Navy also, he hide his how can I say USB in the in the snack pouch. Yes, I mean the snack cookie pouch. So they don't the police, they just only check the other devices or camera or something like that, but they don't see anything. But actually that the main thing is in the snack pouch. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Clever. So with that, I think we can turn organically to our fourth speaker, Mark Candle, talking about the duty of care.
I'm a political researcher and also a part of DigiSec Lab team, leading projects that provide digital security support to political and social researchers in Myanmar as well. So for this talk, as you introduced, I will be discussing based on findings from our recent research, which is called Duty of Care Report. It's about the effectiveness of integrating risk assessment and mitigation plan in the social research projects. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. And this is, I think, the fundamental thrust of our interview today. So let's talk about the duty of care, because we've just laid out that civilians are under heavy threat, CSO organizations are under heavy threat, media are under very heavy threat, and this obviously puts us in this difficult situation where if you are trying to get information about Myanmar, anyone that you talk to could be at risk. I mean, we saw this, years and years ago when CNN went to Yangon, and people came up and spoke to CNN, and they were later arrested for doing this. So, what can you tell us about the duty of care that comes into trying to conduct research and trying to get actual data and information from Myanmar?
Yeah. So as my colleague pointed out that the increasing surveillance situation after the coup, and also the criminalization of digital activities in Myanmar. So one of the group that has been particularly vulnerable are political and social researchers. Either they are based inside the country or out of the country. And like Mamia elaborate about the risks for journalists, the researchers are also the one who are still trying to document, analyze, and collect evidence what's really happening on the ground. So the ones who conduct social research in Myanmar, especially after the military coup 2021, they has been under the threat, and to conduct research and to collect data, it's become more difficult and getting risky. Yeah, so that's why lately we came to think about to integrate the risk assessment plan in the social research projects, because here we can dive into like what types of risks they are facing, like how dangerous for them, journalists and civil society organizations, what types of risks that the social researchers has been facing after the coup. So either any type of research they are doing, it can be ethnography, in-person interviews, or even online surveys. The types of risks they are facing, they are quite similar. So in our research, we identify the common risk that the research groups they have been facing, or they have these are the most concerned risk. So these are like data leaks, online surveillance, or being informed, and the safety of the research participants, as long as along with the physical threats as well. Yeah, so the thing is, like you mentioned, in this high surveillance environment, the researchers they also feel like when they talk to someone, when they collect the data on the ground, they feel like someone is always watching because of all these surveillance technology. So, and also in practical, just having sensitive research notes or like interview recordings stored in our laptop or our phone, it can be a threat for them, like if it is exposed at the checkpoint, or if the data are being leaked. So that's why the researchers they have to be really careful with the data storage and how they're gonna talk to their participants, their informants. Yeah, and in many cases, in most of the research projects, the research participants who are being interviewed or surveyed, they live inside the country. So not only the researchers, the research participants, they are under the direct threat of digital surveillance. So that's why their safety, the safety of the researchers, and also the safety of the research participants, that really depends on how securely researchers they're going to handle their project, and they're going to handle the information they will collect. So that's why since around 2020 to 2023, we try to integrate the risk assessment plan in the research project to make sure that the researchers they will make constant ethical review, something like am I gonna record dates, or do I write down this person name, or personal identifying information, and should I store this data online or offline, this sort of things. So the researchers have to constantly think about and review their ethical process and expanding into the digital space as well. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I think from the report that your team has produced initially, and that the report, at least as I have it, is titled "Duty of Care: Protecting Myanmar Researchers with Risk Assessment and Digital Safety Support." I believe, in fact, you were responsible for helping some of the researchers on other K4DM projects, which we have previously done episodes on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting to see the background of how the process comes together. But the first question that I want to ask on this, and I think is an incredibly important thing to understand, what we call a chilling effect. All of these threats against civilian civil society organizations and journalists, and also researchers, of course, all of these threats combined, do they effectively limit the amount of accurate information about the crisis in Myanmar from coming out to the international community? Are people afraid to come out and say, this is a thing that happened, I saw the military do this, they burned down my house, all these things happened? Is it stopping people from speaking out?
Yeah, of course, it is. It is. So even though the researchers, they try to make sure the ethical process and also the safety of the research projects and the participants and the data, like no matter how they try to secure the process, like my colleagues mentioned, the surveillance technology is getting tightened and tightened, daily, and also it's updating daily as well. So the participants, they are trying to I don't want to use getaway, like they feel being threatened, and they feel that like someone is always monitoring their phone or who they're gonna talk, and they do really afraid of that. Even though they would like to participate in the research project, their first question is like, where is going to publish, who's going to publish that report, and what's the security of our identity after being published that report. And then the researchers are being faced that like it's really difficult to get the participants lately because of that fear, the scare of the expose of their identity, either in on the ground or even online, because of the increasing monitoring. So the researchers are really facing this kind of difficulties to get the participants who are really willing to talk about what they are experiencing and what's going on in their society. Yeah, so that's my short answer for your question.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that, because of course it means that we have to therefore assume that when we have reporting on the situation in Myanmar, we always have to assume that it is only a small percentage, or at least some incomplete percentage of the whole picture, because the military has terrified people into being silent and into not speaking out. But then this then comes back to the initial direction of this inquiry, which is, what is the ethical responsibility of the researchers? Obviously, as a researcher, you need to get the information. You need to communicate to the international community what is happening in Myanmar so that they understand and so they can take action. But you cannot put civilian lives at risk in order to achieve this. So what realistically can the researchers do? You've mentioned these questions are like, well, do I use this person's name? Do I write this down, or do I record this? But what strategies are actually being used to mitigate these risks?
Yeah. So actually, when we talk about like integrating digital security into research, it's not a new thing. It's grounded in the do no harm principle in research. That traditionally, when we talk about the ethics in research, we do care about the do no harm, which means we need to make sure the researcher have to make sure the safety of our research participants and also the communities that are affiliated. So so we try to integrate the digital security in this do no harm principle. So that's one of the strategy that we are using to encourage the researchers to make sure the digital security as well for throughout their research project. And so it's like before, you know, I would say like before 2020, before 2021, when we contact research either about the social, economic, or political, we didn't think about those sort of things like encryption or secure messaging apps. How we're gonna store our interview recordings, like as the ethical issues. But in this high surveillance environment, those thinking, they became the ethical components of the research project. So But still, the core principle is the same, like do no harm principle, whether it's your participants, your colleagues, or yourself. It is to protect from risk of doing this research. So in terms of strategies that the researcher have to apply, it's not, we don't have the the unifying the similar strategy that every research project that can use. The thing is, we develop the risk assessment and mitigation plan. We call RAM in a short term. It's a simple and practical tool. Kind of like security protocol, what Govalks mentioned. So we encourage the researchers to have the security protocol and think through like digital security risks from the start of their project, and like from their research design phase to the actual like free work and data handling. So but the thing is, they use that risk template, and then they have to customize based on their research topic, based on the level of risk. Depends on who they're gonna talk and what, or like who is their participants and what is their research methodology. So based on their research plan, they have to customize the risk assessment and mitigation plan. So, but the core mindset is like when we talk about integrating digital security into research, we are not just talking about like using VPN or like secure apps. We are encouraging to have a mindset of like care and safety into the whole entire research process. Like in a way, like digital security as a part of ethical process in research. So I think that's something will play a big role, not just in Myanmar, but everywhere, when the researchers are working under the surveillance and threat. Yeah.
And this is also, coming back to that other question when we talk about, is it making it harder for people to come forward and share their stories and talk about these things? Obviously, it's not just those people who are being compromised if they come forward and they were recorded saying something. The people who are carrying these recordings, the researchers themselves are under threat. Is it also stopping people from being willing to attempt to carry out interviews and attempt to find the truth in Myanmar, because the risks are just so incredibly high that you could be arrested or tortured or possibly even killed for trying to bring information from Myanmar to the international community?
Yeah, that's a good question. So in the earlier discussion, we have been talking about the safety of the participants and the safety of the data. Actually, in our training, and when we develop the RAMP, we encourage the researchers to put themselves first. So put yourself first. The most important is the safety of the researcher first. So because they are the one who is going to collect the evidence what's happening on the ground, and they're gonna keep that data with them, either in laptop or on phone or even taking on notes. So they are the one who's gonna be with the data, which is kind of like politically sensitive or can be a threat for them if they are exposed to the monitoring database. So the safety of the researchers is the most important thing when we think about the risk assessment. And yeah, and then like to elaborate more for your question, the second one is traditionally when we think about the ethical process, we usually focus on the interface of data collection. So how we gonna make sure the safety of researchers, the participants, and the communities that are affiliated. But now, because of this high surveillance environment, we need to think about the whole like research projects even after the publication. So when we disseminate the findings of our research, we need to review our report again and again, like to make sure that is there any identifiable information in our report, identifiable about the researchers, about the participants, or where we conduct that research. That you may see all the news that the hunter trying to get the the first person who collect the data, all the whole community who involve this kind of things. So we need to make sure that the identifiable information about the researchers and the participants, but also the affiliated communities where you are working with, or like the villages or the communities that you collected the data. So in terms of security, we need to expand, expand the stakeholders, in terms of the stakeholders, but also like in terms of the digital space as well. Yeah. So of course, those sort of threats and also the difficulties to reach out to the participants, and also at the same time the internet and the electricity cuts off all the time. So all these things push back the researchers, especially early career researchers, to continue their passion to work as the as the young researchers in Myanmar, and to collect and to analyze the what's going on in our society. So those are all the pushback to the research career. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And I think with that, we are coming to the sort of the conclusion of our episode. So for the audience, once again, I would like to just reiterate. So this was an interview with 4 different representatives through DigiSec Lab. And the fundamental genesis of the episode is the research that they have conducted, Duty of Care, Protecting Myanmar Researchers with Risk Assessment and Digital Safety Support, with a partnership from K4DM, Knowledge for Democracy Myanmar, who is partnering with Inside Myanmar to produce this series of episodes. However, although this is a slightly unconventional setup and organization for our podcast, it is always the tradition on our podcast to finish by inviting the guest to share any thoughts that they may have. And I don't intend to deviate from that today. So I will go through all 4 of the guests in order. If you have any thoughts that you want to share, any message you want to share directly to our audience or to anyone who might be out there listening, this is your opportunity. If there's anything that we didn't get time to mention today that you think people need to know about, this is your opportunity. So I will begin with Nandar, if you have anything you'd like to say.
Yes, actually, to all the audience of Inside Myanmar podcast, yes, Myanmar is under dictatorship, and also all the public and also civil society sector media organizations should control their internet usage. Even though we can access the internet, but we cannot search, communicate, and also we cannot do anything freely.
I think that in this kind of age, we have to be like every single users, including civil society, including high risk users, including normal user, every single one will have to be really vigilant about digital tech. Because when we talk about digital tech, we're not only talking about like this government mandated surveillance, right? Because we also have threats of cyber scams, threats about the rise of internet authoritarianism across the world, like, for example, platforms changing policy, Cloudflare having tighter access, and stuff like that. So I would say that, for individual freedom, for your digital rights and everything, I would say that now is the time to fight. Now is the time to reclaim your rights whenever possible, and then also set up boundaries if possible.
And first of all, thanks Inside Myanmar. And also, I would like to highlight like one thing regarding the digital safety for the media outlets. So digital safety, it should not have only be the technical level. It should be the practical level, and also should be like the daily newsroom culture. So every staff member, editors, reporter, everyone in the newsroom, in the media outlet should have rules and follow the and protocol and guideline. And also I'm encouraging heavy digital security guidelines in every media outlets, and also be safe. Yeah, thank you.
Just for the last point, I want to encourage and push all the political and social researchers, to think like security experts, because due to all these concerns and potential risks imposed after 2021. So please make sure that how you're going to communicate, how to store data, and how to protect the participants that you work with. And also, I would like to take this as a chance to advocate to donor organizations that digital security is not longer just an add-on. It should be an integral part of, research design and research ethics. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being a part of this conversation and joining our global community of listeners. Here at Insight Myanmar Podcast, we see our platform as a space where stories, reflections, and experiences come together to create deeper understanding and foster meaningful connections. Each conversation is an invitation to strengthen the ties that reveal our shared humanity, which is grounded in a sense of care towards Myanmar and its people. And this work is made possible only through the generosity and support of listeners like you. Your contributions enable us to continue amplifying these voices, sharing these important stories, and connecting us all through the power of dialogue. And so by giving, you're not just supporting a production, you're actively nurturing a growing community of insight and compassion. So if you found value in what we share, we invite you to help us sustain and expand this platform. Every donation, no matter the size, helps us to keep this effort alive. Visit insightmyanmar.org/donation to make a contribution and be a part of the shared journey.
Oba yarananda dayananga yaranaya dayanam boda yaranam